Right, good morning everybody. So here we are with, as promised, the first build I'm going to do on the channel is the little Humber Mark II from Matchbox. I think everyone's kind of familiar with this kit. It's a little classic kit from probably the 1980s, this box I would say. Now just quick look inside. Should get everything out there. So standard Matchbox instructions, I'm sure everybody's familiar with them. The transfer sheet there looking good. I've used these from the 1970s on some Matchbox kits and they're perfect. They just seem to work every time. So there we go. Pretty typical, your standard Matchbox instructions, nice and simple, nice and straightforward. And your markings on the back there, some paint callouts. Pretty good, all good stuff. Nice and simple, straightforward, injection molded plastic, very little flash. I mean, they were really good for the day, and they still are good little kits. So I'll be starting to build that one. I'll just quickly show you some of the equipment I use. So basically, it's going to be a very basic build. So a couple of decent tweezers is what you need. I've got a couple of them. I use a number 3 scalpel with a number 11 blade. I've used this for, oh god, this must be 20-year-old, this thing. Really good, a good tool to have with you, but really careful. They're pretty sharp. I've had some lovely injuries in the past with that, but I've never got anything better than that. Tamiya snips, good quality snips, very good. I use 2 lots of glue, Tamiya extra thin, and I've never found anything better than that. I just love the Humber liquid poly, but I decanted into this little old bottle here, which is an old Tester's glue pot. The brush is really good. That again, that must be ancient, that. So I just tip that in there when I want to use it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to crack on with this. I'll do a couple of sub assemblies, and then we'll catch up and see where we are, and then we'll start painting this lovely little kit. Thank you very much. Right, and here we are. After a couple of hours construction, we have one a complete little Humber car. So it's in sections. I haven't bothered gluing the turret on or the man in yet, because that's all going to be painted separately. But I've just double checked the boxing of this kit is 1984. The molds are from 74, sorry. So this is a kit from 1974. The join on the hull, there's 4 sort of parts together, was really good. Almost better than modern kits these days. There's absolutely no seam line, and it's a quite complex shape to get that to fit together. But it's all gone together really nicely. I forgot how good this kit actually is. So we have the hull, the turret, and the commander all ready to go. Use a bit of a live wire, get them in there. Not so easy with one hand, but there we go. You get the rough idea. So basically, we're going to give this a coat of primer. Now, the primer I'm going to use is actually primer from an auto sales place. This is from NPA, which is like a motor factors. It's very similar to the ones that Halfords sell. If you're familiar with Halfords in the UK, it's like an automotive wholesale retailers, but that's pretty good. But you just a couple of light coats on that, and we're all good to go with the main coat. So that's where we are at the minute. So I'll give that a little blast over, and then I'll show you the paint I'm going to use to get the finish I'm after. And as if by magic, here we are, one primed Humber Scout car. A couple of light coats, looks really good. Good key there for your paint work. Now the paint I am going to use for the main colour for the Humber is, and I'm going to keep it old school, it's Humber Enamel. I'm going to have a crack with this one, number 314. That's going to be the base coat for the Humber Scout car. I'll obviously use other materials and other paints for the rest of the base, but let's get some colour down and we'll go from there, and I'll show you how I weather it as well with some oils and dry brushing. Okay, let's go. Right, here we are back with the Humber Scout car. I'm about to start some weathering, but first I want to block in the colour on the tyres. I'm basically just going to go for a straight black. People say don't use black, use dark grey, but yeah, rubbish. Just basically, I'm going to get the colour on. It'll get weathered down, dry brushed down, oil washes, so it's gonna look fantastic. I'll show you a quick and easy way how to paint tyres. I'm basically going to be using the Revell Black 302 and some white spirit, common or garden white spirit. Now this Revell semi-gloss black, it's the best I've found for doing things like this. I'll show you how to mix it down, get a nice capillary action going, and how to paint your tyres perfectly. Right, 2 seconds. So here we go. There's a little bit of Revell semi-gloss black, bit of white spirit. Get a nice sort of capillary reaction going. Just dab it on the tyre, and it should follow itself around. If it's a little bit thick, just put a little bit more white spirit on. Doesn't matter if it's thin. It's going to be weathered down anyway, but it gets a nice clean line on the tyre. Again, just put it on the back there on that one. See how the capillary reaction just takes it around. As long as you get your consistency right, it's nice, quick, straightforward, pretty easy. Not the best brush, but it's just basically block the colour out, so when I get on with the weathering, it'll be it's all sorted. And again, just on the inside, a little dab, and it goes all the way around. It's just to basically block the colour in. I'll finish that off and I'll show you when it's done. 2 seconds. And this is basically what we end up with. Reasonably nice, clean black on the tyres. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Like I say, it's going to be weathered down. And a couple of washes and a couple of dry brushes. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a little bit of a dust coat of this. Again, sticking with Revell, number 82. It's like an earth colour. So I'm going to give it a light dust. And then we'll go from there and put the transfers on. Reason why I'm putting the light dust on first before I put the transfers on, being such a small little model, it can sometimes overwhelm the transfers and you can like lose the detail. So we'll give a little dust of 82 first with my iWatt airbrush, then we'll come back and see what it looks like and start the weathering. Right, we're just going to get a little dust cover on here. It doesn't have to be perfect. So a little dusting just to sort of blend it in a bit. A little bit up the side, a little bit on the tyres. Same on that side. Like I say, just try to get a bit of a variation of the colour. Bit up the back, bit on the tyres. Roughly where dust's going to collect underneath. A bit more on there maybe. Don't want to go too over the top. Right, that should do. The markings I'm going to do are the 5th Royal Tank Regiment, which is the nice desert rat symbol. These transfers look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is put a little gloss coat on the 2 fenders and the turret where the transfers goes, and we'll apply them and we'll go from there. Right, so I've basically just given a dab of this on the bits where the transfers need to go, like on the front fenders and the turret side. So let's have a go at applying some transfers. Okay, I'll show you how I do it. Right, so we'll start with this one. The carrier film's a little thick on the Matchbox kit, so I basically just trimmed it off. Get a little paintbrush full of water, just dab it on. That's how I tend to do it. We'll let that dry. I'll let that come off the backing paper, and then we'll put it on the fender and have a look at that. These transfers are about 40 years old, but I'm still expecting them to work perfectly. Matchbox stuff, the quality is really good from Matchbox stuff back in the day, and I don't expect this to be any worse being 40-year-old. Yeah, imagine being 40-year-old. Right, 2 seconds. As I expected, it came off the backing paper perfectly, so let's do the rest of them and get some transfer solution on there to get it settled down. Okay, so this is where we are at the minute. We've got our base coat on, a little bit of airbrush dust. We've blocked in some colours, the tyres, some equipment, basically just using some Vallejo water-based colours. Now we're going to look at how we do a wash on it to sort of bring this highlight to sort of make the detail pop a bit, get some depth to the model. I'll quickly run through the sort of washes I use, and I'll explain what we're going to do for the little armoured car. Sometimes I'll use the Citadel Nuln Oil and Abrax Earthshade. They're really good for specific things like uniforms and tools and things like that, but I'm not going to be using them today. Or I can use the Tamiya panel line accent colours. These are really, really good, high quality. I would use them basically for if I want to have a lot more control, such as like undercarriage bays on jet aircraft, which some of them are wide, so you don't really want to flood it with wash. So they're really good for that. But I'm not going to be using them today. I've just started using the Flory wash. They're okay, but I'd suspect they work better on a bigger scale, so I'm not going to be using them. What I'm going to be doing is making my own wash from these 3 oil paints. lamp black, raw umber, and a Valkyrie brown. I'll show you how I mix that with just, you know, your standard sort of white spirit. I'll make my own. I'll show you how we do that, how we get the right consistency and the right colour. Right, I'll set the camera up, back in a second. Right, here we go. So first thing I'm going to use is raw umber. So I'll put a little splodge of that. You can kind of, depend how much you want to make, you'll work out your sort of ratios. Next thing, I want a bit of lamp black. Now I just want a little bit of this because it's quite strong. So I usually just got an old brush, dab a little bit in there. Now from here on, I pour in some white spirit, standard white spirit, and we'll try and see what sort of consistency we're trying to get. So we'll just keep spinning, stirring it around, thin out as best you can. See, it's got quite a nice brownish tint. I might want to darken that a little bit. So if I'm not happy with it, just go back to the black, just a little dab on there. The white spirit will drag a bit more off, and now you can see it's turning it slightly darker. Just the sort of colour I'm looking for. Now when it dries, it will be quite dark. Now what I use the brown for, the Valkyrie brown, is just to warm it up a little bit. Obviously I'm doing a vehicle, it's in the desert, so I don't want to be totally black. So just a little squeeze, again, just a little dab on that, not too much. And into the mixture. Make sure we get it all mixed in. So we've got like a consistency slightly thicker than water. So it's still quite thin. You don't want to go any thicker than that. Let's grab a brush. Let's go with that one. And grab the model. So basically we're just putting a little, just letting it run into the recesses. Look at that, how good does that look? Doesn't matter if you go over a bit, then you can just take that off. So I keep it in the camera with the paintbrush. It's quite tricky this, you know. A little bit on there. Just load up the brush. And you see how capillary action just takes it into the recess, and it looks really good. Bit too much on there, just dab it with your brush, just take it off a little bit. On the side again. Again, if there's too much, just dab it off, but that looks pretty good. And you see how the detail just starts to pop, it really does. With a few more washes, a dry brush, a bit more weathering, we'll get a really good finish on it. Right, so I'll go around the rest of the model and I'll do that and I'll come back in a second. A couple of things I need to say while I'm doing this. This model's been drying for a couple of weeks now. The white spirit can be quite aggressive on enamel paints. So like I said, give it a couple of weeks, let it dry. Probably like 48 hours will be enough, but I've been on with other projects at the minute. Now, also try not let it pool either. So if it does pool, like on the edge here, see on the edge there, just run the brush along it and just pull it off. But don't work it too much. Like I said, the white spirit might sometimes lift the paint, and you don't want that. Okay, it's pooled there again. Dab on the brush. See it pulls, takes it away. And just dab a bit there. Just work it out. There you go. Right, I'll finish that off and show you the results in a second. Right, this is where we're up to with the little Humber Scout car. As you can see, it looks okay so far. It's a little bit gritty and it doesn't look great, but you know, it's acceptable. Now what I want to do is give it a dry brush to like bring it all together and start really like tying it all in, so you get a much better finish, smoother finish. We'll lift the details and we'll do a bit more work with some detail painting, especially the figure. And then obviously we've got the base to do. Now to dry brush, this is what we're going to use, oil paint. Buff titanium oil paint. Now usually I usually don't buy such a big tube, but that's what happens when you buy things on eBay. You're not quite sure on the size of things, but that'll probably last us a few years. So we're going to demonstrate how to dry brush the little Humber Scout car, bring some details out, bring it together and sort of smooth it out. The wash that was on it is a little bit too dark for my liking, so we're going to lift that with a slightly more warmer wash after we've done the dry brush. Okay, let's crack on. Okay, so let's dry brush. So we're going to put a little blob of that on the some kitchen roll here, and the brush I'm going to use is a number 8. Now that might seem a bit big, but I'll just show you what we do. So take a bit of that. So it's quite a big blob on the brush there, and we'll basically just try and work it on the brush. Try and see what we're doing there. Work it in as far as best you can, and then what we want to do is just drag it all out. So drag out as much of the paint that's on the brush as possible until there's hardly any coming out of the brush. Yeah, as you can see, it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, but we'll keep going because it's only a small model, so we don't overwhelm it. See, there's still loads of paint coming off there. Basically what we want to do, we want to get as much as we can in the brush, so it's quite got a nice broad amount loaded on there, but it's evenly loaded on. So again, keep working it all off as best we can. Keep going till there's hardly any there. I know it's a bit tedious and it seems like a waste of paint, but these oil paints last forever. Keep taking more off. Still too much for my liking. Get some more kitchen roll. Now you can probably see there's hardly any coming off there now. Just probably what I want, so I keep turning the brush as I do it, and we'll grab the model and have a go. Right, so basically we're just dragging the brush over the surface and we'll see what effect we get. See, it's picking up the highlights there. It'll sort of bring it all together and basically just go around the whole model carefully, picking up the edges. And you see it starts tying it all together, especially here where there's quite a bit of weathering. It'll start pulling it all together. I'll show you that when I've done it. Right, as we can see, after the dry brush, it's lifted all the highlights. It's given it a nice dusty appearance, which is what you want for a desert vehicle. I'm still not 100% happy with it, especially with the wash. So what I'm going to do now is going to give it a coat of this varnish, matte varnish, Vallejo matte varnish. Again, that'll hold it all together, and then we can go back in and do some more detailed painting. Pick those tools out, get some more highlights, warm it up a bit. It's supposed to be in the desert, so it looks that wash is way too dark. So a slight brown wash, a lighter brown wash I think will do, and we'll pick some more details out and we'll go from there. Right, as you can see, I've now got the matte varnish on and it looks okay, but I'm not 100% happy with it. I'm going to give a few more little light washes. I'm just going to use these two oil paints, dark brown with Van Dyke brown and some raw umber, so to try and lighten it up a bit. It just looks a bit dark, and you can see I'll do a bit of detail painting as well. See around the visor there, where the driver's vision slot is, the wash doesn't look very good, and a few other bits. So I'm going to tidy it up, just touch it in with a brush after I've done the little wash. It's already had the matte varnish on, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like after that. Right, here we go, we're in the final furlong here. I've given the model another wash, this time with more Valkyrie brown in it to warm it up a bit more. It looked a bit stark and harsh with a darker wash on it. So I've given it another wash, another light dry brush, a coat of matte varnish. I painted some detail work in like the straps on the canvas cover there, the jerry cans, a few bits and bobs, the headlight, the guns, the commander, giving him a little coat of paint. Looks all right for the scale, it's fine. Given it another coat of matte varnish, and I'm quite happy with it. That looks pretty good to me, so we're going to leave it as is. I've given the stand a quick going over, so I've basically used similar colours for the Humber car on the stand. It's quite simple to paint these, so you just basically go for the highlights, you make them lighter, the low lights make them darker. Obviously it's got a crater full of water, so there must be some moisture in the soil, so you make it slightly darker. A couple of washes, a little bit of dry brushing, and it's good to go. Like I say, as long as it matches up with the subject in mind, which is the Humber Scout car, so as long as it looks roughly the same, because it's going to be operating that terrain, I'm quite happy with that. That's that done. So I'll put a little montage of videos and pictures at the end of this build sequence to see what you think. Let us know in the comments if this is any good to you, any help, or any improvements you'd like to see. I can obviously improve it by getting decent camera and sound equipment and probably better editing facilities, because the pictures don't really bring across the the finish on the model. Looks slightly different on the camera. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and like I say, give us some feedback, tell us what you think, particularly the production, and I'll try and improve and go from there. But thanks for your time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.